Good morning, everyone. We're gonna make this intro short because I just want to get to work. UPS just dropped off our new main bearing set for the engine. So I'm gonna go through, I have the standard size bearings in the Shortblock case halves right now. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna pull measurements off of those bearings, record them so that way I know what they are after we swap them out for the other bearings. If you guys are doing this, you need to make sure that the case half set is torqued down to spec or else your measurements are going to be off. I think it's like 14.7 foot-pounds with an additional 90 degrees torque on them. Don't quote me on that. I will have like a document PDF thing that I'm printing off here soon to be able to go over that. So let me go through this engine, pull measurements, record them. We'll take it apart, swap the other bearings in, record measurements, do a little bit of math and see what we want. My target for the main bearing clearance is about 1.5 thousandths of an inch to about 2 thousandths of an inch. That's what I'm shooting for with this engine. So let's tear it apart and start doing this. All right, let's get the mic re-zeroed out. We're looking for 2.3607. 2.3607. We'll get those tossed right in there. Come in here, zero out our gauge. About 1.5 thou right there. 1.5 to 2, so we don't need to mess with this top one. Cool with that. Temperature definitely affects this because last time I did this, it was hotter. And I'm guessing the engine itself was hotter because it made the block expand a little bit, because right now the measurements I'm getting are a lot more tight. So we're at about 1.5 thou on number 2. That's so weird. I didn't know. I mean, hey, the block's like 10 degrees cooler than it was last time, and it's affecting tolerances up to 1 thousandths of an inch, which is good because then it puts everything back in spec. It's just so weird. I mean, it's not weird. It's just, it's material, what, metallurgy, meteorology, call it whatever you want. And I'm back. I just printed out all of the paperwork that I'm going to need for torque specs and everything. So I have the OEM printout of the sequence to torque everything down, as well as the torque specs. It's nice to have everything printed out like this versus doing it digitally. Like digitally, yeah, it's nice to have it on your phone, but like having a printout, be like, okay, I can physically hold this and see. I also have ARP's instructions for how to put their case bolts in, because we are using ARP's case bolts. They do already say on the bottom, some customers may choose to install the bolts at the factory torque specifications without a line honing the block, but they will not receive the full benefits of ARP's high strength fasteners. I'm totally fine with that. We did not line hone this block for ARP's case bolts. They even say it in there that we can use them to factory torque spec, so that's what we're doing. So now that I've got all these measurements taken down from this set, let me follow these instructions to get this case half set torn back apart, and then we'll get the new bearings in, take measurements, and see what they are. I think I'm gonna leave the first 3 mains where they're at, because I am getting 1.5 thou to 2, 1.5 thou to 2, 1.5 thou to 2 on mains 1, 2, and 3. So 4 and 5 are gonna be my main focus right here. I am going to pop in the rest of the bearings and the rest of the mains just to see what they come out to and see what our torque values are. But let's get this thing torn in half. Let's get these other bearings thrown in here. So I've been playing bearing mix and match for about an hour now. I've got 2 of them exactly where I want them. I've got number 1 in the rear completely perfect. They're both at 1.5 thousandths of an inch. Getting 2, 3, and 4 is what I'm working on right now. So I'm playing like mix and match with these bearings. It's getting quite annoying to untorque the block, torque the block, untorque the block, torque the block, untorque the block, torque the block, but we need to get these measurements perfect. And we're gonna do that today. We're gonna get this short block assembled today. That is my goal. It's gonna happen. So far, it's just been a lot of back and forth with measurements, final measurements. So 1 and 5, I'm good with. The other ones came out to like 3 thou, so I gotta like keep going on those ones. But I've got the printout of how to torque this thing down, untorque it down. I've almost got it memorized at this point. You got to torque them all down to 7.4 pounds. Then you got to swap sides. Do one side to 14. You have to do some of them to like 14.8. Other ones to 10.8. Some of them go to 13.3. Other ones go to 14.8. There's a special torque sequence. You just go back and forth between this block. So I've got all the bearings kind of laid out over here. So these are the new bearings on this side. These are the original ones that I have. These are standard. These are the new ones that have a slightly different measurement on the bearing. So I'm going to toss all of these ones back in, take out all of the standard ones. I know I'm not using those two 100%. So we're probably going to be playing mix and match between this set and that set there to get measurements right. So let's keep going. Let's play with measurements. So we are all squared away on bearing clearances now. So I ended up just using all of the new ones that I had that got dropped off today. I'll link that one down below. It's got a slightly different inner diameter than the ones over there did. That's the standard set. The other ones are something else I don't remember. So final numbers that I ended up with was 1.5 thou on the rear, 1.5 thou on the front, 2 thou on 1 and 3, and then 1.5 thou on 3, 2, 3. It's right there. You guys can see it. So I'm pretty happy. We're all between 1.5 thou and 2 thou. So that means we can get this short block assembled today. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get these mics pulled off of the vise here. We're going to disassemble this block here. We're going to get the crank thrown in the vise here with a bolt in the crank. So that way we can actually bolt it down. We're going to get the rods on. Once we get the rods on, we can start assembling this. It's gonna be fun. I got a stretch gauge for the rods. I've never used a stretch gauge, but it doesn't seem that hard. We just have to do a little bit of math here. I'm a little nervous for this. So, I've got lots of documentation spread out around me. I've already got the rods labeled for what spot they're gonna go in. So we're gonna start off with the number 1, which is this guy here. So I'm gonna take a lint-free rag, wipe off the journal for the rod, just to clean any potential poo off of there, because we don't want any poo on this. Poo is the last thing that we want. Alright, see, that's why we clean it, man. There's like poo all over it. Get you nice and clean right there. So we've got journal number 1 cleaned off. It's looking great. There's no contamination on it. Perfect. Now we're gonna grab rod number 1. We're gonna open up the box here. I've already got the rod bearings already like set in here. So I need assembly lube. What am I doing? So I'm just using this red line assembly lube. I'm gonna keep the cap on it the entire time just to make sure we get no poo in there. Last thing we want is poo getting in there. So we've got manly rod number 1 here. Looks beautiful, looks great. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out the fasteners for it. And I'm gonna go ahead and lube up the bearings on the rod cap and the rod. I'm also going to wipe down underneath of the bearing also. I'm going to put all the Manly logos facing the front. I don't think it really matters too much, but I'm going to. Got 2. Now we're going to press the rod cap on there. We're going to get this hardware with some more ARP fastener lubricant, because we don't want to forget that. So it says to put fastener lubricant where? Apply lubricant. We recommend ARP Torque lubricant to the shank and the thread portion of the rod. Okay, so I'm just gonna get some fastener lube all up on here. All right, so both of these rod bolts right now are just hand tight. Now I've never used a stretch gauge before, so this is gonna be new to me. So I'm pretty sure one of these. I've got the base setting taken from a rod that I pulled off. I zeroed out the gauge, so we're going to start by torquing these down to 30 foot-pounds, seeing what the bolt stretch is. Dear Lord, this is terrifying. I'm going to do this on the table. I'm going to move this engine real quick. I don't trust this. I don't have a super fancy shop. I have a garage, so I'll make do with what I got. So let's get you to 30 foot-pounds. Alright, so there's 30. I'm going to get the other one to 30. Alright, there's 30 on both of them. Now we can measure bolt stretch. Rod feels good. So I know this guy was zeroed out before. So how do I get the gauge in there? Oh, look at that. We got bolt stretch of 5, so that's 1, 2. We're at about 3 thou and we're shooting for 6. So If I know 30 foot-pounds puts us at about 3 thou of bolt stretch, let's pump it up. So let's go up to 70. Actually, we're gonna do 80. Oh my God, dude. Look at that. All right, measure bolt stretch again. We're at 6 thou of bolt stretch. We need to be 6.5 to 7, so. Bro, I literally cannot torque this thing anymore. Oh. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was 90. Oh. Oh. Please be there. We are at 6.75. Yo, that's right on the money right there. What about this one? 6.75. So, we've got one rod on and torque down. Well, I'm just gonna time lapse going through these other ones now that we have a general idea of what we're doing. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll get all the bolt stretch between 6.5 and 7 thou. And then we can get the block ready. I'll get this cleaned again before we throw it in the engine. But Jesus, dude, that sucks to torque down. At least I know it's about 90. What did I do, 95? No, I did 85. That was about 85 foot-pounds to get to the bolt stretch that was required. So now that that's done, let me just knock out the rest of these. So that sucks to do on your own. It equated to about 90 foot-pounds of torque on the rod bolts. Now, some of you guys in the last video were like, holy hell, that's a lot of torque. It's what ARP calls for. ARP calls for about 90 to 100, no, I think it was 95 to 100, or go off the rod bolt stretch. We went off of rod bolt stretch, which equated to pretty much right where their torque range fell. So just to show you guys, we are using the L19 bolts, torque from factory, 95 pounds. We went off a bolt stretch, 6.5 thou to 7 thou, 95 to 100 foot-pounds. So we have all of these torqued down. They feel awesome. They feel great. They feel like they want to... Oh no, we have rod knock already. I'm joking. It's supposed to do that. So all of these feel great. So now we're gonna get the engine, which I put over there, moved back over here. We're gonna split the case halves again. We're gonna get everything cleaned thoroughly. We're gonna use this OEM 3 bond that I have hidden back here with our ARP fasteners for the case halves, and we're gonna put an engine together. We're gonna seal up this case half set with that. This sucked. Those things are not coming off, I can tell you that much right now. Like, they are on there. That stretch gauge, 10 out of 10, highly suggest it. Once you get it figured out, it's not too bad. Once you zero the gauge off of a rod bolt that hasn't been torqued down or there's no torque on it, you zero the gauge, then you bring the gauge over to the rod bolt. And then there's small indentations in the top of the rod bolt in there. There's one on the top of the rod bolt and the bottom, and then the 2 gauges sit in between those 2 indentations, and then you just move the gauge left, right, left, right, left, right, and that'll give you a reading. So we have about 6.5 thou on all of these. Like I said, came out to about 85 to 90 foot-pounds of torque on all of these. So let's get this guy set aside for now. I think I'm just gonna put it back in that Subaru box over there, and let's get that case half set over here. We have 3 engine O-rings here. We've got 1, 2, and 3 up here, and then we've got the bigger orange one that go right there. With this, I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna remove every single bearing one by one, clean underneath the bearing, clean the surface of the bearing, get assembly lube on the areas that need assembly lube. It's gonna be all of the bearings right here. Then we're gonna go through this with OEM Subaru 3 bond and start sealing this thing up, getting it pressed together. We're gonna put an engine together, and then we'll get the crank set in there, get it, ooh, I'm excited and nervous. So let's get to doing this. Oh my God, I'm so stressed for some reason. So I've got this cleaned, I've got that cleaned, I've got these ready to go. These are all the ARP fasteners we're gonna be using. I've got their instructions pulled up. There is a special sequence that they're gonna have us go by on this. We are not going to their torque settings. We are sticking with OEM torque settings on these. So I'm gonna take a breather. We're gonna come over here. We're gonna assemble this. We're gonna deal with this. So from what I found, I have the instructions printed off. I have them right over there right now and underneath of here. So we need to go through assembly lube on every single journal in here. Every single bearing gets assembly lube, a generous amount of assembly lube at that. After that, we need to seal up these case halves. So sealant goes all up in here, underneath all of those, around there. There's special spots down here that get sealant, down here that get sealant. I have the PDF pulled up on my phone. I didn't print that one out. I don't feel like sitting on my printer for 10 minutes trying to get it to like actually print out because my printer's stupid. So let me take a breather. Whew, we'll woo-saw, we'll clean the crank, we'll come back, we'll get this assembled. I am like nervous and excited all at the same time for this. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's totally acceptable to be nervous and excited at the same time. Like most engine building places, like shops, real engine building places, not a dude in a garage, have like a sanitary room with like super fluorescent lighting, like an air system that sucks all the dirt and debris out of the air and whatnot. And I'm sitting in here with the breeze coming in here. You know, let's put it together. Let's just put it together, do the thing. Let's put it together. This is stressful. I'm so stressed. It's okay. It'll be all right. It'll be Gucci. It'll be all right. During that whole exchange of running through that short block and rushing to try to get it together, the camera died, but the short block's together. And it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Well, I already rotated it over once. I'll rotate it over some more once we actually get the pistons in. But everything's sealed up nicely. I cleaned up any like excess squeeze out that actually like came out of the engine. So all the excess squeeze out is cleaned up. We have this thing torqued down and together. All that was stressful. That was way too stressful, but I feel like the hard part's done. Now we need to get the pistons in, which I don't think will be too difficult. I'm not 100% sure on that. Once we get the pistons in, then it's like familiar territory for me, but this came out awesome so far. So we are using all the ARP hardware. Some of these, so just to give you guys a rundown, all of the ones that go inside of the cooling jackets get torqued down to 14.8 foot-pounds. Same with the two that go back here. These two in the front of the case over here go to 13.3 foot-pounds. All of these ones out here, I believe, are like 10.8. I have the paperwork somewhere, but I believe they're like 10.8 on those ones. After you have everything torqued down and good to go, you need to do an additional 90 degrees on all of the hardware in the torque sequence that Subaru tells you. So I'm pumped. I'm straight up pumped. This thing's sealed up, ready to go. It's ready to go. I'm excited for this. I don't have hardware to get this on an engine stand, I think. We'll figure something out. So next up, let's do pistons. Well, let's just keep going with the uncertainty and the fear and the terror. This thing is heavy now. This thing got a lot more heavy. So let's get it flipped up on its side. I think we're just gonna do one side first and then we'll do the other side. I don't know, I've never put pistons in before. So I mean, let's learn as we go some more. Let's do the thing. So fast forward about a half hour here. I got the pistons in on this side. I went ahead, I wanted to figure it out on my own before just shooting video. I want to just chill out, listen to music, figure out this side. So I got it figured out now. So now we need to get the pistons in over here. Really not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was definitely using this tool wrong at first. This is the Company 23 piston ring compressor tool to be able to get the pistons in. I was over tightening that and it wasn't letting the piston go in. And I was like, why the hell is this piston not going into this short block? So it was my bad on that one. So let me show you guys how to do this. It's really not bad. You have this access panel here that allows you to get to the wrist pin for this piston, and there's one on the back side back there that allows you to get to the wrist pin on that side. These pistons, let me pull this one out right here. get out of here, bag. These pistons use snap rings in there to retain the wrist pin in there. So it's good to know. What is this? Cylinder 3? We'll do cylinder 3 first since I already have it out. So let me flip this guy up. Let me get the snap rings on here. And then we're gonna put one snap ring on this first. So if you look at the piston, it says front with an arrow pointing that way on it. So we're gonna get the wrist pin snap ring in on this side first, because there's no way to get that snap ring in once this piston is in there. So we can get that one, but we're not getting the backside one right there. So let's get a snap ring thrown in on that backside. We'll get this piston compressed. We'll clean up the cylinder wall with some brake clean. We'll re-lubricate it with new oil. We will turn the engine over as much as we need to be able to get the rod to line up, and then we'll get the piston in. So step 1 is to open up this little bag of snap rings. So if you look in there in the piston, that snap ring is now in there. So that's what retains the wrist pin in there. So now that we have that done, we can go ahead and set this piston aside. I've already got all the rings and whatnot on here. Looking Gucci. Dude, the oil control ring on these pistons just does not want to cooperate. There we go. We're gonna rotate the crank to get this rod where we want it. So access panel, boom, rods lined up, which is good. We have our snap ring already in cylinder or piston number 3. Clean off the cylinder wall. So I'm just gonna stick this rag in here, wipe down the cylinder wall, just to get her nice and clean, get any potential deposits, contamination in there out of there. Now we're gonna take another rag and we're gonna just like gloop a whole bunch of like 5W30 oil on it. It's just what I'm using. You can use whatever weight you want. That was probably a little too much. And then I'm just gonna recoat the cylinder wall with oil. Just gonna provide lubrication for the piston to go down there. I'm also gonna throw a little bit of assembly lube on the outside or the skirts of the piston. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna lubricate the skirts with oil just to lubricate them so that way when they slide in, they go in a lot easier. Now we're going to get our piston lined up. We have the orientation right, the front points that way, right, and exhaust right there. So we're gonna get that slid into our cylinder wall right here. Just like so. We're gonna get piston orientation right. I'm gonna tighten that. Actually, I'm gonna loosen that a little bit for the piston ring compressor. I'm gonna grab this rubber mallet and then just boop, boop, boop. Sometimes it wants to be a pain though. There we go. Piston is in its home. Look at that. Hello, piston. Now I'm gonna push you down. Where's my rod? Because I need to push that rod to line it up. I need the rod to sit about right there. So with the wrist pins, I've been doing the same thing, lubricating them up in oil, and then you gotta finoodle it in there. This can be a little bit frustrating at times, because you're gonna have to move the piston, move the crank, move the crank, move the piston, move the rod, whole bunch of stuff. So I need, what do I need? I need piston to go down just a hair. I need rod to go forward. You just need to give it a little couple love taps like that, and then it goes right in. Look at that. I'm gonna work that guy right out of there. Now we get to fight with the snap ring. Actually, the snap ring's not too bad to get in. Boom. Snap ring went in first try. I like to push it down with a flathead just to make sure it seats, but hey, we've got another piston installed. Now we got one more. Oh yes, that sounds so smooth. Especially after working that assembly lube in there. Oh yes. Dude, this thing is going to be saucy. Saucy. Dude, it's just feeling better and better every revolution. We almost have a fully assembled short block. We got to get all the plugs and everything in, but ooh! So all the pistons are in the engine at this point. Now we just need to get the plugs in. I'm pretty happy with the outcome of it. It seems like everything went smoothly. Hopefully everything went smoothly. I think it went smoothly. I measured everything like 800 times, assembled it once. I'm pretty confident with it. I feel like, I hope. So really the only thing left to do is get all the plugs and everything in the engine, which I'm about to do. But just to show you guys, like, it feels nice and smooth. It's like, it just feels better. Every time I keep like spinning it, it just feels smoother because the assembly lube is just getting around everywhere. But it feels so good. I'm pumped. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with it. Look at that. We got pistons in there. Look at that. We got pistons in there. Dope. So let me time lapse through this. Let me get all these plugs and gaskets and everything in that we need to get in to seal this thing up. And then I think we have a fully assembled short block at this point, ready to go in that turd. Let me start off by saying I am so proud of myself on this. You guys like saw it. I was so nervous all day putting that thing together, but it's so beautiful, and I know it's gonna run good. I know because I quadruple checked every measurement so many times. Everything's like dialed perfectly. It's literally perfect. Check out this like crazy pink hue going on right now. The sky's like super pink and it's making the car look like crazy, all sorts of crazy. But this, oh God, dude, this came out so much better than I thought it was going to. The zinc hardware that comes back from Outfront on their blocks just sets it off so good. It looks good. Everything is like dialed perfectly. Pistons feels like crazy smooth whenever I rotate the rotating assembly. ARP hardware looks beautiful on it. This engine is a capable girl right here. So weakest point of this engine is the Manly H Tough Plus rods that we have in there. Those rods are only rated as 750 horsepower. But from what people have been telling me, they've seen them hold up to like 850 and whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe we push this. Maybe we push this old girl as far as we can. Who knows? But I am like crazy pumped about like this whole setup right here. This is the very first engine I've ever built. Going through here, some of the scary things is only the measurements. Like, I did feel very rushed when it came to getting all the sealant and the case halves like pushed together when that was happening and whatnot. But aside from that, hardest part was getting all the measurements accurate. Putting it all together, not bad at all. Super easy, actually. I don't know why I just don't want to hold the camera right now. So we have so much to do. Tomorrow, I'm gonna pull the engine out of Karma. The engine's coming out, the Type RA short block's gonna come out. We're gonna get the heads off. My buddy Eric is gonna up drill the heads for us. He has a bridge port at his house. So we're gonna bridge port the head, or the heads. We're gonna bridge port the heads up to 1/2 inch because this old girl is 1/2 inch head studs because we're not playing around with this thing. So, I mean, honestly, oh, please don't. Honestly, I mean, it wasn't that bad putting it together. It was definitely stressful at times, but it's not bad. If putting a short block together is something that you're heavily considering doing, some of the key things that I do want to note, make sure you have the proper measuring tools. Having the proper measuring tools will relieve so much of the stress that you have, and knowing how to use them. Just because you have them and you don't know how to use them, they're not going to do you any good. Do a little bit of research, learn how to use the tools that you're getting. It will make life 1,000,000 times easier, and I literally mean 1,000,000 times easier. Print off all documentation. If you're like assembling a short block case half set, go online, get the FSM, print off the instructions like I did. I did do some of it digitally, and I would have rather have had it printed out, but I didn't want to deal with the printer, so I didn't want the whole like fuduncle with that thing. What is in my eye? Don't even say my eyeball, because I know my eyeball's my eye. But yeah, tomorrow engine comes out of Karma. we're gonna start getting the engine out of Karma. Find out what all we need to replace on that power steering rack, whole situation. Kyle sent me some photos up for what he got in for the 05 STI, because he's doing a little bit of work for us also. So we're gonna have to trailer the car from here down to Fuse Fabrication. Once again, the 17 STI and the 05 will be in the same room together while they're both getting worked on. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. Like I said, this is the first short block assembly I've done. I do plan on doing more in the future. This was actually fun. It was actually fun. I feel like the next one I do won't nearly be as stressful as this one was, because I already have an idea at this point of how to put together a short block. So we'll see. I mean, we don't even know if that short block's, it's gonna be great. What am I saying? But anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. Color of the day is zinc. Is zinc a color? If zinc is a color, that's the color of the day, because zinc hardware on that engine right over there. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit your boy up one of these corners. No idea which one I'll put it in quite yet. We're going to be doing so much with that short block over there. And we have the 6-cylinder stuff still going on and whatnot. That's always going to be going on. That's a project that'll never die. But anyways, with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.